So good morning. We're talking about worship again, and I got Nathaniel here with me, amazing worship leader, and we want to just chat a little bit about what this theme is that we've been doing this month of worship. I'm really excited about it because it's really close to my heart. God is seeking worshipers. That's what He looks for in us, is that a heart of worship, somebody that's desiring to get to know Him in a way that He knows us. And that I find is great. One of the things I wanted to touch on, and we can discuss a little bit about it, Nathaniel, is how worship brings change in people's life. And how did that in your life, what can you put on that? Your view on worship on that?
Wow, this is something I actually discovered on this past Sunday, in the sense that I realized that worship is a one-on-one experience with God. It is almost like a journey. In fact, I looked at it like, okay, looking at table view from here, it looks so small. But then when you get closer to table view, it's the same mountain. But then suddenly, table view looks much bigger. So then I realized that, wow, some people do not feel God around them, sometimes because of where they're standing, or their kind of experience. But then for those who had gone closer and had an intimate experience with Him, suddenly realized that, wow, their God is so big and everything else is small. Yeah. So I realized that sometimes you see people at church and during worship they look as if they don't even know what they're doing. It is not because the song or whatever you're doing is not nice. It's just a personal touch, and giving them time when they walk that journey, with God. By the time they get to Table Mountain, they actually see God as big as anybody else, and suddenly the experience is different, and suddenly they're excited about something that they didn't used to understand what they were doing. Yeah. So for me, worship is a very intimate and personal experience.
Yeah, awesome, man. I think for me as well, that moment, if you look at John 4, the moment the lady at the well comes and meets Christ, her perspective, her view of herself changes, because she starts to see her in Him. She starts to look at Him as the Messiah, because He reveals Himself. I'm the Messiah. Yeah. And when that happens, she goes back to her city, from a lady that was alone at the well, probably going through a lot of turmoil in her life, goes back into her city and becomes a preacher. Changes her city upside down because of the fact that she had an intimate encounter with Christ. And that is the thing that I think worship brings. Yeah. And that the power of worship, we can preach 1,000 sermons and it's powerful, but the moment you start connecting with God on the level of worship, the word becomes real to you. Then the sermon becomes real to you. Then what I'm reading, then the prophetic, everything else becomes real. I think it's the key. One of the things that I love in 1 Corinthians was, just after chapter 13, it gets into the place where love is the key, where the very mirror that I behold, what I look into, changes me. Now, worship without love is nothing. What's your perspective on that?
It's exactly as you're saying, worship without love, because the one you're worshiping is of love. He actually came down to come and die for us, that we would have that connection with Him, because we lost that. And worship makes you, it's not the song. The song prepares your heart to begin to see how God sees you. But then as you get deep into worship, and not just Sunday service worship, in your everyday life, wherever you find yourself, if you become aware of His presence in your life, you begin to realize how much God loves you. And it makes life, let me use the word bearable, not because it's unbearable, but just because Christ is, you feel Him, you know He's with you, you know you can face tomorrow.
Yeah. I think what we want to encourage you today is for it to not just be an act, but an attitude.
That's it.
Something that you live, not on a Sunday or just in your quiet time, but bringing it into everything I do, whether it be drinking a cup of coffee, whether it be an intimate encounter with a friend, when you're talking about that, everything becomes the very act of worship, because we're bringing Him into it. We're acknowledging God is present. God is here while we're discussing this on this level. So we want to encourage you this week, as you go about in life, is to invite Him into your life in everything you do.
Just become aware of Him.
Yeah,
Just become aware.
just become aware of Him. Have an awesome day.